Hello, happy day 52. I hope you're doing wonderful. So, today I wanted to remind you about how your judgments, your criticisms, your self talk, you are in control of it, and how also your perspective can be totally different than someone else's perspective, and how what you're thinking of yourself isn't always the case, and how you can, sometimes be really hard on yourself and you can have this self talk and judge yourself negatively, and someone else is not perceiving that at all and thinking of it totally differently. And how, what do I want to say? And how, you can be your own worst critic. So I wanted to share a few examples to remind you to be nice to yourself, as my friend and I will say sometimes. Be nice to yourself. Be nice. Be nice. So just to remind you to be aware of what you think in your head, and to invite you to watch yourself, watch what you're saying to yourself, which I do a lot, and I love doing that. I feel like I didn't used to do that, and in the past few years I started doing that, and I love that I can do that. I literally watch myself as I'm saying things, and realize, as I'll share more in a second, wow, I'm saying that, or wow, I'm reacting this way, and I'll literally watch myself. And so my invite for you, my big suggestion, recommendation for you, is to watch what you're saying and realize it. It's really helpful to get to listen and stop yourself and just reframe what you're saying in your head, and get to realize, wow, I didn't realize I was saying this. So you can think differently next time you share something, or think differently next time you say something. This is the great thing to do, so you can just think more joyfully, think more positively, and have better mental health, because you aren't just going along with maybe the negative story in your head, or judging yourself or criticizing yourself, and realizing, wait a second, I just did that. And then you can change the way that you think about yourself, the way that you think about a situation, and be having better health and mental health. So my examples today, one of them is, let me adjust for the example, so you might have noticed in some of my videos, I have this little gray streak over here on my right. And so my example about that is, it gets comments, I'd say honestly, probably at least one comment every single week. In the past, I don't know, definitely, months, something like that. For a long time. I've had it now for, 3 to 5 years maybe. And so my point in sharing this is, I'll often get comments, I'd say 90% of the time, 95 probably percent of the time, they're positive, because if someone thinks it looks bad or doesn't like it, they have the decency not to say anything, because why would they? So most of the time people are like, oh wow, like, or they'll say like, oh, is that real, or did you diet? And for your information, it is totally just natural. It just came into my hair. It just appeared. And so, people will comment and say, oh, I really like that, or that's really cool. And so my reason for sharing this is my reaction to it. My reaction to it is always, I'll usually say thank you, but I'll have like I'll cringe to myself and feel like, and I'll always say something usually like, oh, like I don't like it. And I'll say something like that. And so it's just interesting. I'm sharing this to share the fact that it's interesting for me to see this and notice this and be like, wait a second, someone's giving me a compliment, and I'm like, I am taking it, but at the same time, how am I reacting to this? So how are you reacting when you get a compliment? Or how could you change the way that you perceive something? And I bring this up because, it's something that I've had, as I said, for 3 to 5 years. I forget how many. And, if I really wanted to change it, I could. And I don't love it, honestly. I don't love it, but I don't hate it to the point where I'm going to actually diet. I considered it at one point. That's a longer story, not important, but I'm not going to do it, at least for the time being, for the foreseeable years. Right now, I'm happy with how it is, or not unhappy enough that I'm going to change it. So that being said, can I instead try to adopt a more positive attitude around it, as opposed to like cringing and being like, ugh, like when I think about it, and when people comment on it. So that is what I'm saying in terms of, judgment and criticism and self-talk that you have to yourself. I hope that example makes sense. My other example is an example I had this weekend, in which someone asked me a question and I was sharing an answer, just talking about my schedule and what was going on with myself. And I was sharing this example, and I remember, um, answering the question, talking about my schedule and what it was like, and literally thinking to myself as I shared this, like putting myself down in my head. I remember literally like feeling bad about my answer. I literally remember feeling like, oh, this isn't a good answer. Like, oh, they're gonna like think this is a bad answer. Or I'm not gonna come off well. I remember literally thinking this as I was talking. And, I wasn't in their head, so I can't say 100% for sure what their thought was. But, from watching them, it seemed like they thought they didn't have a bad reaction to it, that the person I was talking to, heard it and thought, yeah, cool, that's, interesting schedule. That's, they didn't think something negative as I was thinking. So I wanted to share that again to cite an example of, are you being too hard on yourself? Are you judging or criticizing yourself when other people aren't? And there's different perspectives, right? One perspective of me maybe cringing about this versus other thinking, wow, I love that. That's so cool. And me, as I said over the weekend, talking to somebody and answering a question about myself and thinking like, oh, this is a bad answer, versus it's very likely that they heard the answer and thought, cool, like that's interesting. I understand what she's saying, and as opposed to them thinking, ooh, like oh, she's not cool, or for lack of a better word, like, oh, like points off for her answer. They probably weren't thinking that. So I hope I illustrated these examples well for you, and I invite you to be kind to how you speak to yourself, and to honestly have that, extra person in your head, like I do for so often now, when I'm speaking and when I'm reacting, and I see myself do it, and I find it very helpful to get to step back and literally reflect as I'm saying it or afterwards on what I said. So I invite you to do that. Give yourself some more joy and better mental health and health. So that is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're like most people and you love helping others, thank you so much for sharing this video so we can touch and inspire more people, share some more healthy living tips with more people. Sending you so much love and joyful, healthy vibes, and do more of what makes you happy. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.